I often get angry at times at people on YouTube because they don't talk about the law. They all talk about the injustices of the law and what's been done to them. CYFD. Well, I'm involved with a case here in Valencia County, and it involves icwa, Indian Child Welfare Act. I didn't know that my daughter had two sets of rights. Um, this is a post from CYFD. It says CYFD fully supports the New Mexico State Indian Child Welfare Act for the tribes by the tribes. 2/5/2021. Santa Fe, New Mexico. New Mexico Children's Youth and Family Department wholeheartedly endorses the passage of the House Bill 209, Senate Bill 278, the New Mexico State Indian Child Welfare Act. This important legislation will greatly benefit the 23 sovereign tribal nations within the state of New Mexico. But what about the ones outside of the state of New Mexico? Like my family. The federal ICWA was passed in 1978 in response to the high number of Indian children who were being forcibly removed from their families and placed with non-Indian families by public and private agencies. ICWA provides the minimal standards under which American Indian Nascan Native families receive services from a state child welfare system. See, that's wrong. ICWA provides a federal standard. They're supposed to be the gold standard. Today, American Indian Alaskan Native children are still 4 times more likely to be removed from their families, which often results in a disconnect from extended families, their tribal communities, and their cultural identity. A New Mexico State ICWA to help keep Indian children with Indian families has long coming, said CYFD Cabinet Secretary Brian Blaylock. We all know where he went. He's an idiot. And it's finally possible because the tribes have been in the lead telling government and community organizations what kind of law will work best for them. But the ICWA workers that work best for them and the other tribes are still sovereign nations. They're still wholehearted their own entities. They're just like China, in a way. Come on. Well, they're not just like China. I'm not saying that. But they all are their own entities in their own nations. Just because we all live together doesn't mean we're all together. New Mexico State Senate, State ICWA to help keep Indian children with Indian families has been long time coming. Keeping the most impacted children, families, and communities at the center of this legislation has been of paramount importance, and CYFD has supported the expert work of the New Mexico Tribal Indian Child Welfare Consortium, the Coalition to Stop Violence Against Native Women, and bold future during this process. New Mexico proposed ICWA law would clarify legal definitions of key terms including Indian child. Do we really need a key definition of an Indian child? We know what that is. The BIA pretty much squirts it out. Well, I squirted it out, if you know what I mean. That's a key child. We don't need definitions, because if we fight over the key terms, we'll be fighting over the key terms of what a word means forever. We know what a child is. Active efforts. Fictive kin. Those are not, they don't need to be well strengthened in the legal definitions for active efforts. We all know actively means actively doing something, like I am actively activating for myself right now, or activating, whatever. You know what it means, and you know what efforts mean. That doesn't mean, well, I'm putting an effort to consider giving this family services, because that's what I received. And I'll tell you what, that's not active efforts. My family deserves a lot better than that. Fictive kin. That should just mean family. Fictive kin. And member. Do we really need a definition of member and relative? Why would we need definitions under relative in ICWA clarifications? The BIA pretty much clarifies. And if you need definitions of these terms in ICWA terms for Indian families, why don't we have definitions of, Americans and other terms, Because they do have courts of their own. Where would we stand in their courts when they start defining us as different? Or, start giving us different efforts instead of active efforts in their court systems? In ways respectful of the tribes, culture, and unique status as sovereign tribal nations. What New Mexico needs is an understanding of what sovereign tribal nation means to an Indian family, and what that sanctity means in your home and in your private life. Maybe those are the terms that need to be defined in the law. Circumstances under which the parental rights of an Indian parent can be terminated will also be codified in a way that honors the traditions, cultures, and roles of tribes in communities and families. Let me reread that to you. Circumstances under which the parental rights of Indian parent can be terminated. Process for maintaining the cultural traditions and norms of the child once a child is placed for adoption or guardianship will also be clarified. So what I just got out of that is circumstances under which parental rights of an Indian parent can be terminated. That means death. The State Indian Child Welfare Act is an important step in ensuring Native children and the children welfare system can remain connected to their tribal communities and cultures. Having this legislation written by the tribes for the tribes emphasizes an importance of knowing the truly supporting our tribal communities, said Donalahan Saracino. I don't know if you guys can see that right there. Saracino, CYFD Director of Tribal Affairs. And when they say they written by the tribes, did the Wichita tribe have anything to do with any of this? I would like to know that. Our overarching goal is of this policy is to provide stronger legal protections for Native children, families, and tribal communities. Thank you to all those involved in spearheading such an important piece of legislation that will deeply impact our tribal families and communities, said Lynn Trujillo, Secretary of Indian Affairs Department. Yes, Ms. Trujillo, it has deeply impacted my family.